Guruve Gaura Chanjaya Radhikaya Tadale Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tada Bhaktaya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatruvescha Kripa Sindhu Vacha Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. My Dandavat Pranam devotees, Madhavatiti Ekadasi Ki Jai, for those who Ekadasi brought this for today. Also today is the Avirbhav of Srila Nityalila Pravishtam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Stotara Sattva Samad Srila Bhaktivedanta Trivikram Maharaj. So praying for his causeless mercy, as well as the causeless mercy of our Guru Vargas and all the devotees. So this is very brief, and we've been having, which leading up to Gaur Purnim, we're thinking over the course of the next so many weeks, that we're discussing, obviously, Gaur Tattva, and in discussing Gaur Tattva, we're discussing the verses of Sri Siksastakam. So, last night on our phone conference, Bhumipati Prabhu facilitates, of course, our phone conference Monday through Friday at 7 p.m. I can put the information in the dialogue here if people want to join in on that. Basically, on Monday nights, it's my turn to facilitate, and I had mentioned that I would try to serve the Harikatha of our Guru Vargas related to Siksastakam, and we began that last night. And there are very deep considerations in the matter of Siksastakam. Sriman Mahaprabhu that we have in our possession in terms of his writing, only these 8 verses. There are various pastimes told that Mahaprabhu has written other things. For instance, a commentary on Navinyaya. Also, some have said that there was a commentary on Bhagavad Gita. So, but what we have available to us definitively is the 8 verses of Siksastakam. And Sriman Mahaprabhu, being the direct manifestation of Shri Radha Krishna Yugal, in this Ododhya Roop, means this magnificent manifestation of their prem at the highest level. Therefore, Mahaprabhu's Leela is called Prem Purushottam Leela, or Bhakti Naipunya, when Bhakti reaches its highest point and prem is at its zenith. That combined form of Radha and Krishna are the personification of that. And in that, there is unlimited mercy, that what Krishna himself wanted to do and wanted to taste in Krishna Leela manifest in Gaur Leela. It's mentioned, Purva Vrajavilasa 18 Avilas, that at the conclusion of Krishna Leela, Krishna still was left with 3 desires. Shri Radha Mahima Kidraso Vaniyeva. What is the glory of the pranay, the love of Srimati Radhika? And Swajena Bhutamodhuri Ma Kidraso Vamadiya. Krishna, among all the different forms of Bhagavan I've spoken before, is asadharan, means uncommon, in that he has 4 special qualities or 4 special characteristics: is Venu Madhuri, Rupa Madhuri, Lila Madhuri, and Prem Parikar Madhuri. So how Srimati Radhika experiences those, and Shokyam Chasha Maranubhavataha Kidusam Vetilobat, and how her bliss or happiness is experienced because of those Chatur Madhuri, those 4 kinds of special qualities, Krishna himself cannot understand. Because Krishna is in the position of the Vishai. Vishai in Rasa Tattva means the object of love. And Srimati Radhika is the Ashraya, means the repository of love. So from the position of Krishna being Vishai, he cannot understand the nature of the love and the happiness derived thereof in Radhika. So this becomes his desire to taste these 3 things. And of course, to do that, Prema Rasaniyas Karite Ashwadan Rag Mar Bhakti Loke Karita Pracharan. Mahaprabhu appears as the combined form of Radha and Krishna. Another unique thing, which is rarely spoken of, is that Krishna himself does get to experience himself tasting the mood of Srimati Radhika, because he also takes the form of Sri Jagannath. And during the Jagannath Rath Yatra, what was not accomplished in Brajalila, of course in Gopal Champu, Jiva Goswami is written that after killing Dantavakra, Krishna returns to Braj, but also definitively in Gaur Lila, the taking of Jagannath from the temple of Jagannath to Gundicha Gundicha temple is the success of actually the gopis taking from Kuruksetra, hence Dwarka, because Dwarka is the backdrop by which they come to Kuruksetra for the Surya Grahan, means the solar eclipse. But from there, the gopis become successful, headed by Radhika, in taking Krishna in the chariot of their hearts back to Vrindavan. So all of this is experienced in the wonderful Leela of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he performed so many wonderful pastimes in different ways, and they unfolded. And then, of course, in meeting Ramananda Roy at the bank of the Godavari River in South India, he then begins to have the full-blown nature of the moods of Radhika, which he came to taste. And of course, Ramananda Roy then will leave his government service under Maharaj Prataparudra, come to Puri, and with Swarup Damodar, they will become the nourishing elements to Mahaprabhu tasting this Prem Ras Niryas, means the mood of Srimati Radhika, which he desired to taste in the Gambhira there at Puri. So, in the Anjalila chapter 19, it's described there that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent one very dear devotee, Jagadananda Pandit, to Navadvip Dham in order to give consoling to the Navadvip Vasis. Every year, the Navadvip Vasis, along with others, would come to Puri. But then at some point, Mahaprabhu had them not to come every year. So he sent Jagadananda Pandit especially to console his mother and also other Navadvip Vasis, right? And to visit them and to also give news of his well-being and his state of existence there in Puri. So during the course of that visit, Jagadananda Pandit, he met with Advaita Acharya as well. And when he was about to return to come to Puri, Sri Advaita Acharya recited one sonnet, one kind of mystical poem. So he recited, Bahulokikaya lokaha iha bhav. Bahulokakaya haite na vikaya chal. Bahulokakaya kai nahi ka aul. Bahulokakaya iha kayache bhav. So this is one sort of Bengali sonnet, and there he mentions that Jagadananda Pandit should tell to Mahaprabhu, I know that you yourself are acting, Bal means like a madman. Because of the influence of that prem that you're tasting, I know that you're acting like a madman. How does Advaita Acharya know Mahaprabhu is acting like a madman? Because in the last line of the sonnet, he says, Iha kaya che bhav. You should tell him that I myself have also become mad due to the influence of that prem. Therefore, I can understand one madman to another. What is the effect of this prem? Then he tells, Haite navi kaya chal. Chal means rice. And in Bengal, if anybody knows dietary or food preferences in different places in India, in Bengal, rice is a very prominent part of the nature of their how they take food, right? Like rotis are in northern part of India, rice is very prominent in Bengal. So he's telling that hate means market. Hate na vikaya chal. In the marketplace, there's no more selling of rice. So why is that? Because everyone has now everyone has become so affected by this prem and the madness that is the result of that prem that people are no longer interested in their material duties. So the inner meaning here of this sonnet is that Advaita Acharya, who was the cause of Mahaprabhu's descent, one aspect of the cause of Mahaprabhu's descent, because with Tulsi Manjari's and Ganges water, he called for Mahaprabhu to come. You understand? So he's saying now everyone has been affected by this praying. There's no more need of rice in the marketplace. In other words, now you can end your pastimes. So when Jagadananda Pandit recited this sonnet, and Swarup Damodar was present there, Swarup Damodar inquired from Mahaprabhu, what is the meaning of this sonnet? And Mahaprabhu replied back to him, this is in Antya-lila 19, chapter 19, and Mahaprabhu recited back to him, who can know the mind of Advaita Acharya? Advaita Acharya's mind is so deep. Who can fathom his deep meanings? But Mahaprabhu understood clearly what it meant, that it was time to wind up his pastimes. So Swarup Damodar then asked, should any indication be taken from this? So then Mahaprabhu told, listen, Advaita Acharya, just like a great priest, he invites the deity to come, and at the conclusion of the yajna or conclusion of any ceremony, he also dismisses the deity and sends the deity away. Because you know, if you do a yajna with the coconut and the everything, you invoke the deity to come, and at the end of the yajna, then the deity is asked to go. So the deity is established for the purpose of the yajna, and then is asked to go at the end. So Swarup Damodar gleaned that this was the real meaning of the sonnet, and therefore he also became some deeply considering that Mahaprabhu's pastimes were winding down, and therefore, until it says, became somewhat morose. It's not like mundane moroseness or sadness, but it's a deep spiritual emotion. But the important point here is from that day on, Mahaprabhu's mood also changed. And Mahaprabhu, it explains, he began to taste the mood of Radhika, particularly the mood of separation, that was gleaned, especially during the Bhavan Milan Leela. Bhavan Milan Leela is when Akrura comes to Vrindavan to take Krishna to Mathura. So Srila Gaura Govinda Swami Maharaj has described very beautifully in one of his writings, Bhavi Milan, Bhut Milan, and Bhavan Milan. So these are three states in which a lover and beloved experience the mood of separation. So Bhavi Milan means when they are together prior to being separated. So at that time, I'm giving you an example. The lover and beloved are together, but in 1 week's time, the one party is to leave to go away for so many years or something. So at that time, both parties have a sense of that impending separation. And the party that will remain behind especially begins to feel an intensity around that. Then there's a post-separation mood, Bhut Milan. It means after they have been separated and there is remembrance of their activities, their pastimes, their sweet talks, their sharing of various things. At that time, these memories come, and this is another state of separation and the longing to once again reunite. So both Bhavi Milan and Bhut Milan have their particular intensity as far as the mood of separation is concerned. But Bhavan Milan means at the time that the lover and beloved are at the airport, on the drive to the airport, at the time that the beloved who's traveling enters into the past the security gates and they're walking down the runway to the plane and so forth. So the intensity of that feeling at that time is called Bhavan Milan. So Mahaprabhu's mood, after hearing this sonnet, his mood changed, and he had the darshan of this mood of Radhika experiencing when Akrura came and was taking Krishna on the chariot to Mathura. At that time, it's explained that the gopis, who had always kept their love very hidden, because Prachara Mukata means one of the features of Madhurya Rasa is that, especially in Parakya Bhav, that the love should be kept secret. You don't reveal it. But under those circumstances, for the first time, Visraja Lajja Rudasmar Suswaram Govinda Damo Dharamarvati. It's written in 10th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam. Visraja Lajja, that the gopis gave up. Their lajja means shyness. They gave up all shyness. Rudasma, and crying profusely. Suswaram, they began singing in such a very deep mood of separation. Govinda Damodara Madhaveti, Govinda Damodara Madhaveti. So singing this very deep names of Krishna, right? They went through various ways of trying to stop the chariot from leaving. So this is a very, very deep period of the separation mood of Srimati Radhika, when Krishna is actually literally being separated from her and the gopis at the time of Akrura's returning to Mathura with Krishna on the chariot. So, Mahaprabhu, having experienced that height of the separation of Srimati Radhika, his mood became very, very internal. And in the Gambhira, Mahaprabhu was experiencing this very deep mood of separation. In the 20th chapter of the Antya Lila, it then says that Mahaprabhu recited his own verses. So these were verses that Mahaprabhu had written earlier. And these verses of Siksastakam were meant to show the glory of Harinam as the essential ingredient in the practice of obtaining love for Krishna. So Mahaprabhu now began to recite his own verses. But in reciting his verses now, it was in the mood of the highest perfection of Radhika's praying. So two considerations are here. One is the recitation of these verses, and I'll give an example, from the ideal of the sadhaka who's aspiring for love of God and realizing the glory of Harinam. Another perspective is Mahaprabhu's recitation under the deep mood of the deep separation of Srimati Radhika, right? So two different angles of vision of looking at the verses. So let's start to look at the verse and start to look at these two angles. I'm going to try to be concise with this because we're getting started pretty late in the day. Unfortunately, earlier this morning there was some kind of power outage. I don't think it was a power outage. Something happened where the internet wasn't working at all. So, but I don't want to waste time here. Let's go. So, in the very first verse of Siksastakam, which I'll use as the example, it is explained, Cheto Dharpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nivarpanam. Cheto here means chitta. So on the chitta of the jiva, for time without any beginning, the impressions of material energy has been there. And because the influence of material energy is presented on the chitta of the jiva from time without any beginning, and swato na sambhavanti, the jiva is incapable of their own effort to remove that influence, the jiva has suffered in the cycle of samsara. As I mentioned the other day, by vicarious identification with the material energy, the jiva has felt the ups and downs, right, of material nature, happiness and distress, right? The nature of the jiva is actually chit ananda atmika. It has no misery, you understand, and has capability to have unlimited bliss. But under the influence of the material energy from time without any beginning, the jiva has experienced the duality of sukha and dukkha, right? Happiness and distress. So this has been compared, bhava, this samsara, this material existence, to davagni, which means like a burning forest fire. Very similar analogies given by Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in the first verse of Guru Ashtakam. So it says, nirvapanam. Nirvapana means something that's been extinguished. So here, there's an anvay. Anvay means when you take any Sanskrit verse and you put it in the context that it would be spoken like in English, like the spoken context, how we would understand it. So here, Cheto Dharpana Marjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nivapanam. There is something which has had the power to completely extinguish this fire of material existence. That thing is mentioned in the last line. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtan. So Shri Krishna Sankirtan is the subject under discussion here. Param Shri Krishna Sankirtan, this is what's under discussion, right? And what's being said is that this Sankirtan, first of all, has demonstrated the power to accomplish what the jiva themselves could not accomplish, which is the extinguishing of the fire of material existence or samsara. But further, this Nam does more than that. Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. It has the ability to profusely spread the Shreya means the good fortune. So like moon rays, Shreya Kairava Chandrika, so like the rays of the moon, of the good fortune of the Jiva, it has been spread by also the influence of this holy name. Right? So Nam Sankirtan is also given the greatest welfare of the conditioned soul. And what is that welfare? When we take up the practice of bhakti, there are two considerations. One is called sadhana and one is called sadhya. Sadhana means the practice and sadhya means the goal. So what is the goal of the practice of bhakti? So it's mentioned. Kriti sajja bhavat sajja bhavasa sadhanabhida nitya sirasya bhavasa prakritam riddhi sajjata. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, he's written and described what is the goal of practicing bhakti. So the goal of practicing sadhan bhakti is to obtain bhav bhakti. So here the word Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam refers to that bhav. So the good fortune of the jiva is obtaining bhav, which is the essential root of the feelings. Because bhav then becomes prem, prem becomes sneha, becomes man, becomes pranay, becomes rag, anurag, etc. You understand? And I'll get to that later on in the explanation of this verse. But bhav is the essential thing, which is the genesis of all of those higher feelings, right? So this holy name gives the moon rays of the good fortune of the jiva obtaining bhav. So this is the glory of Sri Krishna Sankirtan, right? That it gives bhav. What is that bhav? Vidya Vadu Jivanam. So the first part of that bhav is the cognizance that I have a relationship with Krishna. This is called Samvit Shakti or Vidya Shakti. The Avidya Shakti is material energy. The Vidya Shakti is called Samvit Shakti, and it is part of the Antaranga Shakti or the spiritual energy. So that cognition of I am related to Krishna is called true Vidya. I am the Das of Krishna. Now it says here, Vidya Vadu. But like a wife to a husband, the wife to a husband is like the central source of the happiness, and vice versa. Really, because really the idea is interchangeable. So for a husband, the wife is like the intrinsic mood of happiness in Grahastha life. Right? This is an example. So please, if you're brahmachari, don't go out and change your status based on Mukunda said this thing. Right? Listen. So we're saying that generally this is the external meaning, that the wife is the sort of essential ingredient of happiness in Grahastha life. Because to have a home and everything else, and not to have a significant other person, right? What is the meaning? Happiness is derived from the nature of family, having a house, etc., right? So you get the picture, right? So here it's saying that like a bride is to a husband, the nature of a Ladini Shakti, or the pleasure-giving potency, which is itself the particular bhav or emotion one has towards Krishna, that is Vidyavadu, that is the life of the knowledge of your relationship with Krishna. Let me repeat it. Vidya means knowledge of your relationship with Krishna. The life, the very energy of that knowledge is the love you have for Krishna. You understand? Knowing something is one thing. Knowing that thing and loving it is a different thing. So he's saying here, Vidya Vadu Jivanam, the life of transcendental knowledge is the prem that's there, which is causing the happiness derived from knowing that particular thing. So in this case, having knowledge, samvit, of or cognizance of your relationship with Krishna, the very life of that is the Ladini Shakti, or the bliss tasted from the bhav or prem that's present there. So they're inseparable things. Samvit and Ladini are inseparable. Right? So, Vidyavadu Jivanam. This Ananda principle, Anandam Buddhivardhanam, this Ladini Shakti, has no limit. It expands unlimitedly. Anandam Buddhivardhanam. Vardhanam means to expand. So it is continuously expanding. The ocean of bliss is continually expanding. Pratipadam Purna Amrita Swadanam. And because of the expansion of the Ladini Shakti, therefore Pratipadam, in every successive step, from Bhav to Prem to Sneha to Man to Pranay to Rag, Anurag, to Mahabhav, Rud, Adi Rud, Modan, Mohan, up to Madanakya Mahabhav. Right? Now, these Madanakya Mahabhav does not come into the Jivas or the servants of Radhika. But the service to that mood can come to them. You understand? This is called Manjari Bhav. I don't want to get off track here. Anyway, but on every successive step, Pratipadam, Purna Amrita Swadanam, the nectar of that Ladini Shakti is tasted in growing. Pratipadam, at every step, in the progression of praying, Purna Amrita Swadanam, completely one becomes immersed in the bliss that's being tasted in each step of successive levels of love or praying. Therefore, Savatmasnapanam. So here, Savatmasnapanam means to be thoroughly bathed. But there's a secret here also. To be thoroughly bathed here doesn't mean that you yourself are entering into the ocean of Ananda. But rather the ocean of Ananda is itself submerging you. You understand? There's a difference. The nature of the bliss in love of God involuntarily submerges that person who has love for Krishna, immerses them in an ocean of bliss. Like in the Damodarastakam. Itti drikshvalila bir anandakunde swagosham nimanjantam ayatvayantam. So the word nimanjantam in Sanskrit means something that forcibly plunges someone down into something. So here, into the Ananda, Swagosham, the residents of Raj have been immersed in a Ananda, what is this? Iti Drikshvalila bir Ananda Kund. In the Ananda Kund, Kund means like Radha Kund, like a small lake. They've been forcibly, by the nature of their love for Krishna, submerged in Ananda Kund, in Anand. Bliss. Spiritual bliss derived from Ladini Shakti. You understand? So same meaning is here. Savatma Snapanam. That the Atma is thoroughly bathed in Ladini Shakti in relationship to their love for Krishna, which has all been gleaned and derived from Sri Harinam. Right? Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Therefore, Mahaprabhu will say, all glory to this Sankirtan. So here Vijayate has also special meaning. Jai means victory. So Vijay here means, may there be the Vaishishta, the speciality of this praying, completely conquering me in every single way, form, and fashion. This is the meaning Vijayate Param, the highest kind of love and everything. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtan. So another thing that we should mention here is that Sankirtan means Savat Bhavena Kirtan. Kirtan is not a musical arrangement. Kirtan is not a matter of the arrangement of rag and tal, means musical note progressions and rhythmic support. That's not Sankirtan. Savat Bhavena Kirtan means the mood of love present in doing kirti. Kirti means to glorify something. So the real glorification of Krishna can't be sung. The real glorification of Krishna is not a musical arrangement. The real glorification of Krishna is a bhav. It is a essential emotion that manifests as sound. You understand? So Sankirtan, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtan. So first of all, Sri Krishna means Radha and Krishna. Kirtan, the glorification of the prem of Radha and Krishna is called Sankirtan, Shri Krishna Sankirtan. San here means Savat Bhavena, complete mood everything. This is called Sankirtan. So just like in the next verse, I'm not going into the next verse, but where it says, Kirtaniya Sadahari. Who is a Kirtaniya? Kirtaniya doesn't mean the person who has, very sweet voice, very good mridanga player, harmonium player, right? They can also be doing service. I'm not saying, please don't confuse this. But the real meaning of Kirtaniya is a premi, bhakta. They are Kirtaniya. Therefore, my Guru Parapadma used to mention that Shukadeva Goswami is one of the greatest of all Kirtaniyas. Srila Rupa Goswami, greatest of all Kirtaniyas. Because they have so much love praying. And their Harikatha is fully imbued. Savat Bhavena, with all moods, all bhavs. Therefore, they are really Kirtaniyas. You understand? So this is the meaning here of Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. Now, I don't want to rush, but same time to be concise again. When Mahaprabhu was reciting this verse, he's not reciting from the mood of a sadhaka. He's reciting these verses, tasting the highest class of the love of Srimati Radhika. So what is now the mood? And you can go to Antya-lila chapter 20 to get a reference point for what I'm speaking now. Right? Because it describes how Mahaprabhu had gone through various moods while he was reciting, etc., etc. So you can follow the course there in Antya-lila chapter 20. Right? This is the concluding chapter of Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, Chaito Dharpanamajanam. It's described in the Venugita, right? Chapter 21 of Srimad Bhagavatam. That when Krishna used to go for Gocharan, it means taking the cows out for grazing. Then the gopis in their homes, looking into the core of their hearts, by the nature of their prem, and at that time this prem has the feature called Purvarag, they would see, by the intensity of that Purvarag, they would have sporti or darshan of Krishna within their heart. This is called Bhavanetra. So they're seeing with the eyes of the heart. But during the rainy season, or if Krishna would go into any cave or go into any deep forest, at that time the vision of Krishna would disappear from the heart of Radhika gopis. At that time, Bhava Mahadavagni, then the great fire and suffering of the mood of separation would overcome them. You understand? So here, Chaito Dharpanamajanam, in the hearts of Radhika and gopis, when they would lose the darshan of Krishna in their bhavnetra, then they would be overcome by this mood of great suffering and separation. But then, nirvapanam, something would extinguish that deep mood of separation. What would extinguish it? Oh, if they would have the good fortune to have again the sporti of Krishna, or they would begin to collectively come together and glorify Krishna. So like in the in Venugita it is mentioned, Vaniyanto, bire bire, abire bire. Vaniyanto means in various groups, the gopis would come together. And coming together after hearing the flute song of Krishna, they would go into their own particular groups. Because all the gopis, different group. Chandravali has her own, Paksh means her own group. Then also, Shaimla has her own group, Bhadra has her own group, Srimati Radhika has her own Swapaksh. You understand? So according to their own particular moods and groups, they would go into those groups and begin, abhire means to embrace each other. And they would also begin to glorify Krishna, his pastimes, his deeds, so many things that they were experiencing throughout his childhood and also seeing in their bhavnetra. So in this way, nirvapanam would happen by the remembrance. And in that remembrance would be so many different sweet names of Krishna. Nandanandan, Yashodanandan. Kaliya, the chastiser of Kaliya. Keshi Dhamana, that person who chastised will kill Keshi. Right? So many sweet names would come according to all the different pastimes of Krishna. So remembering these names, nirvapanam, they would again have darshan of Krishna within their hearts. Then it says, Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam. Then that would expand, especially Vidya Badu Jivanam. So here, another meaning is given. It's explained in Ujjwala Lamani that whenever like in the mood of rag, rag means dukkha adhikam chitte shukyat tvena eva rajayate. That whenever any deep mood of separation would come, it would cause extreme dukkha, spiritual mood of suffering. Because in the spiritual world, no mundane suffering, right? So it's just a transformation of praying. But whenever that would happen, dukkha adhikam chitte shukya tvena eva rajayate, then when the gopis would have any thought, meditation on Krishna, or there was any raising of a possibility to meet Krishna, for instance, if the gopis were then given a order, you should take so many different products to the yajna of Bhagavati Rishi, right? Now they have opportunity under that order that they may meet Krishna. Or if by any sankyat means hint, from any different means, from Brinda Devi, from one of Krishna's sakhas, like any duty of Krishna, from one of his messengers or something, that there's a meeting or rendezvous, or if Radhika's going to do Surya Puja, and she gets indication that Krishna may come to that Surya. In all of these ways, then this knowledge, this vidya of how they will meet Vadu Jivanam, it becomes the life. It becomes the life of their mood of praying towards Krishna. Let me repeat it. So, the gopis have the highest kind of praying for Krishna. And knowledge of how they will meet gives life. That praying gives life to the knowledge of how they will meet. You understand? So their praying is transformed by the nature of the knowledge of how they will meet. This is one secret meaning to the verse in Bhagavad Gita. Tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam. To those who have deep love for me, I provide the means, the way, the knowledge of how you can obtain me. Understand? So here, this is another meaning here. Vidyavadu Jivanam. Right? First meaning I gave, especially related to those who are practicing bhakti. But in this context, those who are like gopis, who already fully have praying, this knowledge of how they will obtain Krishna's association. This is one of the most important functions in those who serve in Manjari Bhav. How to make the suitable arrangements of the meeting of Radha and Krishna. This is one particular category of seva that exists in Manjari seva. Right? So here, how the arrangements will be made for their meeting. In that arrangement, Anandam Udivadhanam, immediately their praying expands. Shukya Tvena Evarajayate. And completely, even though there's so much suffering. Ujjwala Lamani gives the example. Srimati Radhika may be cooking because she was blessed by Durvasa Muni, and therefore Yashoda Mai asked that, can Radhika cook for Krishna because you got the blessing from Durvasa Muni? Whoever will taste her food, their life will be expanded, etc., etc. So sometimes Radhika goes to Nandagam, sometimes she starts to prepare things even at home. So it's described that even when Radhika's cooking on so many stoves all at one time in the blazing heat, she doesn't experience any heat or any problems with the heat from that environment. But as soon as, even if it's a very cool night, and she's unable to meet with Sri Krishna, at that time she experiences more burning than millions of suns. You understand? So here, Anandam Buddhivardhanam, their bliss expands. And by the expansion of their bliss, you understand? Shukyatvena Evrajayate. Even that very deep mood of suffering becomes overcome by the possibility of meeting Krishna. This is explained when the description of rag is given in Ujjwala Lamani. Another example is given that sometimes Radhika, when Krishna and cowherd boys are all going for Gocharan, taking the cows out, they will go up on the sharp stones of Govardhan. And during the summer heat, those sharp, jagged stones are like hot spear tips. But still, Radhika standing and looking at Sri Krishna going to take the cows doesn't feel any pain. It's another example of rag. Right? Has other meanings also. So we're not going there because it's different context there. So, Ananda Murivarnanan Pratipadam Purna Amrita Swadanam. In every single step in the arrangement of their separation to meeting, there was greater and greater degrees of bliss being tasted. In preparation for Radhika to meet Krishna, it's called Abhisar. So much bliss takes place as her Manjais and Sakhis are dressing her for the Abhisar. So much bliss takes place in navigating, getting out of her house in Yavat. So much bliss takes place en route through various forests and other kinds of things, under the guidance of Lalita, etc., and going for Abhisar. So much bliss takes place, Vasak Sajja, in decorating the Kunj in which she will meet Krishna. So in this way, a Pratipadam Purna Amrita Swadanam. Right? Bliss is tasted at every step. Also, the gopis are realizing, and Radhika is realizing, Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam, that even when they have separation, then the name of Krishna is still available to them. And they taste through their mutual discussions on Krishna's names and various pastimes and so forth and qualities, they taste also extreme bliss. So in this way, two different angles of vision, this is certainly not complete. There's so many different, it's not limited. Just think about this. In Srimad Bhagavatam it's mentioned, Tulya Bhagavata Krishna Vibhu Sabasraya, Prati Shloke, Prati Akshare, Nana Artakai. Every verse, then he says, no, not every verse. Every akshara means every letter of Srimad Bhagavatam. Nana Artakai has so many unlimited meanings. So how many meanings are here? Based on the knowledge of the praying of Shri Shri Radha Krishna Yugu. But only something is given to express how Mahaprabhu's reciting of Siksastakam during this time in the Antya-lila, and how he had written the verses of Siksastakam as a method of practice and meditation for those aspiring for love of Krishna, how to see both of those angles of vision. So that was my desire here today, because we're discussing on our phone conference, was to give some indication, some idea. Again, the Dwani means the echo of meanings from this is unlimited, but just something to meditate on in this way. All right, my Dandavat Pranam, Vanchakalpatruvishya Kripashindavevacha, Patitanam Pavanevyo Vaishnavevyo Namo Namaha. Jai Radhe Radhe.